At the end of last month's community redraw, I asked the community to send in their own superhero designs, and I have to say, there's been some awesome submissions. But I also asked the community to let me know what their favourite horror movie was if they had one. Admittedly, this has nothing to do with today's redraw theme. I just wanted to throw that in there as a little bit of fun before Halloween and to keep people guessing about what today's episode will be about. Despite that, I've taken 5 submissions, I've redrawn them in my style, and I've fit them into the theme for today's video. Welcome to the Mahora Academy of Heroes. Let's bring these illustrations to life. Mahora Academy isn't for your average student. This prestigious school specialises in training future heroes. Destined to protect humanity, these new hopefuls are humanity's best hope to prevent the dark entities of the world from taking over and wreaking havoc. For centuries, the Academy has trained heroes of all shapes and sizes, including the legendary heroes of the past, those who have saved the world from destruction. Their deeds being etched in the hearts of the next generation of heroes, as well as the history books. The Academy was due to have a new student starting, one with a rather dark and tragic past. This young and new hero in training was the only survivor of the Ritual of Salvation, a rather dark and sinister ritual for the worshippers of Nova. Once every generation, 10 newborn infants are put on a sacred altar, and they are cut, causing them to bleed on the altar, which triggers the ritual. Nova would then begin to devour the flesh, bones, and souls of 9 of these infants. The last remaining newborn, the only survivor, then gains the blessing of Nova, superhuman strength, stamina, and endurance. Their reflexes become 3 times faster than what is humanly possible, along with the ability to learn anything and adapt at a faster and more efficient rate than normal. This blessing, this gift, as it were, was called the Boon of New Hatred. The newborn would then be given the name of Survivor, and they would awaken a unique skill, a unique ability. This time the unique skill was being magically linked to a set of dual katanas. These katanas emit a dark aura when held by Survivor. Because these weapons are magically linked to him, he can teleport them to his hands, or if he chooses, he can teleport to his swords no matter where they are. It's rumoured these swords were created during the ritual and were made from the life force of the other 9 infants that were sacrificed. If this dark origin wasn't enough to put him out of place as a hero, in the minds and hearts of many, his upbringing would. Survivor was a member of a clan of cultist assassins who worship a dark god, Nova. After the ritual was over, he began to train in assassination, spending his younger years devoted to the beliefs of this god and honing his skills in the art of assassination. During this time, he was completely unaware of the horrific ritual that gave him his abilities and powers. The clan wanted to ensure that he was devoted to Nova before shedding light of the ritual that he survived. Fortunately for the rest of the world, Survivor found out the truth and turned his back on the clan. Despite having a mindset and belief that life is meaningless, he has decided to turn his skills to something useful, and for a short time he became a lethal vigilante, slaying those who he believed deserved it. He took up a new name and called himself Misery. After a fateful run-in with the headmaster of Mahora Academy, Survivor, who now goes by the name Misery, was intrigued by the offer of the headmaster to join the academy. It was not something he had previously considered, although he still felt life was meaningless and those who do what he considers evil should be slain. He was curious to find out what type of people attended this Academy of Heroes. If anything, it seemed to fit in with his strong sense of justice, in principle at least. But whether or not it would be a wise choice and something that would help to shape this young vigilante to becoming a true hero is something only time would reveal. Leslie Fairweather had always been in the shadow of his older sister, the hero known as Frostar. Similar to most heroes, he had his own hardships, although his hot-headed ideas and his rather unique and insanely strong power has led to a bit of a superiority complex. He has more experience than most students. After doing some heroic deeds alongside his sister, both siblings share the power of their family's bloodline, the power of cryokinesis, allowing them to create and control ice. This is a rare bloodline ability, and its power does vary depending on the individual. At first, during their travels, Leslie, who decided to go by the hero name Ice Dragon, started off as a rookie hero. Well, more of a sidekick than a hero. helping his sister out dealing with the villains and criminals in their hometown. His sister was starting to become well known, however, Ice Dragon was always seen to be in his sister's shadow. Since she would finish off the stronger villains, of course, there are times where he took out some of the larger and stronger criminals, but those times were rare. This did, however, encourage him to push his abilities and his limits, and he relished the challenge of taking on bigger and bigger opponents. Through these challenges that he underwent, his power began to outweigh his sister's, allowing him to fight against stronger opponents and evil forces. Over time, Froststar became jealous and displeased at the fact that the public were becoming more and more inclined to praise her brother instead of her. This got to the point that one day in their travels, after Ice Dragon defeated the strongest opponent the siblings had ever faced, the headmaster of Mahora Academy saw Ice Dragon's potential, offering him a place in the new batch of students. Ice Dragon, however, was reluctant to leave his sister's side. He'd been travelling and doing heroic deeds with her since they left their hometown, and he felt he owed his sister for all of his growth and accomplishments. Much to his surprise, though, his sister did not only encourage, but insisted that he attended the academy. She used the premise that there was very little more she could teach him, and he should not pass up the opportunity to further develop his skills. The truth was, she was arrogant and wholeheartedly believed that she was destined to be a great hero and to be famous, but at her own hands. She felt that there was nothing she could benefit from a place like an academy, where she would have to attend classes and lessons. She'd already had enough of school in any way, shape or form, and the idea of returning to one disgusted her. However, for her younger brother, well, it was the perfect chance to get rid of him, so the public eye was back on her, and while he was stuck in lessons for several years, she would be making a name for herself as a great hero. As Ice Dragon had not only been selected by the headmaster to join Mahora Academy, but he had also gained some real-life experience as a hero, he felt he was superior than the other students, an elite amongst these heroic geniuses. His sister's arrogance had rubbed off on him, and gave rise to a rather unhealthy sense of pride and ignorance to the fact that no matter how powerful he was, without the help of others, he'd never be able to reach his full potential. Not all heroes don the common attire of the land. In fact, there's one heroic student who is not from this world. He's from a distant world, which he was forced out from while protecting it from an invading warlord, Malabak, an evil tyrant that has spread chaos across the galaxy. Just as Multiman was about to defeat Malabak's army, he was swiftly teleported away from this world, to several billion light years from his homeworld. After trying for countless millennia, he ended up on Earth. Tired from his journey, he needed to rest, and he underwent a hibernation cycle. His powers that were given to him to protect his homeworld had become weak over the centuries, and he needed to rest to restore them. He laid peaceful and motionless for countless years, until one day he finally awoke. After awaking, he discovered that his powers had undergone a change. His aging process was still stopped. Well, slowed to a near stop, causing him to have a drastically longer lifespan than any living soul on the planet. He still had enhanced super strength, and was able to create green laser-like energy blasts from his hands. His control of gravity had weakened, but he could fly for short periods of time, and move objects. However, the larger the object, the longer it took to move, and the more of his energy it drained. This was not his full range of powers, however. It seemed that his time being dormant had also led to some of his powers becoming weaker, and in need of reawakening. While travelling about this new world, he had yet the chance to explore. He helped various creatures and races of all types from any danger they were in, until one day he caught the attention of a tall, mysterious figure in a cloak. This tall figure approached Multiman and asked him where he was from, or rather, what world was he from? Multiman was shocked by this and surprised. Not only had he been on the planet for what seemed like eons, but no one else had even thought to ask him where he was from, let alone say outright what world was he from. The strange, mysterious man also said that if he came with him to a school for gifted future heroes, Multiman could regain the powers he had lost and be restored to his full strength. If not his full strength, he could unlock his true potential, being a saviour of this world and others. Since the powers were given to him to protect others by Galveron, a mystical protector of the multiverse, Multiman agreed to join the academy. While travelling, Multiman decided to ask this strange figure, who turns out to be the head of Mahora Academy, to use his real name, Amuro-chan, so that the name Multiman would not bring harm or ill fate to those around him, should Malabak and his forces ever attempt to take over this world. The headmaster agreed, and Amuro joined Mahora Academy as one of its newest powerhouses. As they continued discussing various details of the academy and what life would be like there, Amuro was informed by the headmaster that he's free to tell others about his history and background if he wishes, but if he did not, he also had the option to use a cover story, that his powers are a bloodline trait much like many of the other heroes, and they are from an ancient and rare bloodline, one that has not been awoken or seen for several millennia. This would be the reason there is little to no information about his abilities and origins in the world today. Although it's not the entire truth, Amuro was accepting of this cover story. He did not like to lie, but the story was far more convenient to keep his identity as Multiman a secret, as well as explain his multiple powers and where he got them. Not all bloodlines that awaken have multiple powers, except for those of a demonic nature. However, the aura of Amuro was pure and warm, nothing like the aura of one with demonic blood. As the cover story is based on the truth about his origins, although somewhat lacking in detail, he decided to look ahead at his new identity and life as a student at Mahora Academy. His mind, however, could not help but think about his homeworld and what state it was in today. Not to mention, even after all this time, was Malavac still out there causing chaos and destruction to the universe with each world this tyrant encounters? When most people think of heroes and what they look like, they think of powerful mages, warriors, magic wielders and such like. Heroes who have powers and abilities either learned or awakened from their bloodlines. They may even think of knights, those noble and honourable defenders that wear armour, carry shields and swords, have helmets to protect their heads from harm. Knights are common, and they do come in all shapes and sizes, even some who do not look like a typical knight. However, this student is far beyond the normal knight in both appearance and values. The student in question is not what you'd call one who has a normal sense of justice. Yes, they would go about and ensure that justice was upheld, always following the laws of the land and dispatching evildoers. This was until his god speaks to him. His god gives him missions, which he accepts without fail, to carry out God's will. As you might suspect, this makes him a holy knight of sorts. He is a devout follower of his god, a god known as Nihilabenius. This student has formed a pact with a cost. With each mission he completes for his god. By following the orders and completing the tasks, no matter what it is, whether to save or slay a target, his humanity fades away and his body becomes made of beans. That's right, he is a literal bean knight. One who spreads the word of his god with each good deed he does, to gain more followers to the faith of Nihilabenius, as his god is the god of, well, beans. Sir Baked Beansworth, the name chosen for him by his god. This name and pact gave Sir Baked Beansworth the powers of beanomancy, the power over beans. He could harden them, absorb them to heal himself, create beans from the elements around him. This gave him enhanced physical strength, as well as endurance and resilience. However, it did come with a rather unique weakness, the weakness of anti-bean leaf. If his opponent truly hates beans with every fibre of their soul, that opponent will not only be able to hit Sir Baked Beansworth with what appears to be superhuman strength, they in fact weaken him. It's not superhuman strength, but Sir Baked Beansworth being weakened by their hatred of beans. Despite his devout belief in God's will, Sir Baked Beansworth is for all intents and purposes a powerful force for justice, even with the odd missions from his god to kill more suspicious characters who may not seem evil, leading to confusion within the public and often people hating Sir Baked Beansworth and his god. However, his god just tells him to continue with his next mission, and within time, those haters often turn into new worshippers. One day, Sir Baked Beansworth was ordered by his god to attack the person in front of him. The person dodged with ease. Sir Baked Beansworth continued to attack at the behest of his god. However, no matter how many times he attacked and how powerful the attack was, he was unable to make contact. This went on for a while until Nihilabenius instructed Sir Baked Beansworth to stop. After seeing the power and skill of this young yet strange knight, the man he was fighting turned to Sir Baked Beansworth and laughed. The next thing he knew, the man was offering a place at a prestigious school for heroes. Sir Baked Beansworth refused the offer at first and started to walk away, leaving his opponent with a smile on his face. Nihilabenius instructed Sir Baked Beansworth to head south towards this academy, gaining new worshippers as he travelled. As mentioned before, heroes come in all shapes and sizes, and some come from eras long since past and forgotten. One of the more unique and strangest looking heroes at Mahora Academy is KnightDefender, a species of dinosaur that lived long before Multiman had come to this world. This species was extremely intelligent and had technological advancements far beyond anything in the current state of the world. This advanced technology was a form of nanotech that had its own sentience. With it, the wearer could use a form of energy manipulation to take the magical energy of the world around them and use it to create protective barriers, as well as other energy-based powers. This nanotech bonds with the user, giving a form of symbiotic relationship. The more the wearer of this armor bonds with it, the more of its abilities it can unlock. For now, KnightDefender can create a strong barrier around himself that is virtually unbreakable from most attacks, both physical and magical. There are a few attacks that have the power to break this barrier, although it cannot be used for long periods of time. KnightDefender not only has this armor, but they also have the innate ability and skills of the dinosaur species they belong to. KnightDefender is a type of raptor, and as such it has razor-sharp claws that can slice through a wide array of solid objects. When used in conjunction with the energy barriers it can create, these claws can block the attack from any sword or weapon with ease. He has a keen sense of smell and super fast reflexes. He's quite agile and fast, which also puts him in the top 10 students at Mahora Academy. Combined with his keen intellect, he is a quick study, and as such, the same tactics rarely work for long against him. His potential as a force for good and a hero is limitless, but so is his potential for evil. This is not something that is shared with the rest of the students, as the headmaster does not want to create any form of animosity between them. Having a rivalry is fine, but if the students knew that KnightDefender's predatory instincts are held back by his willpower alone, they would soon see him in a new light. Being a dinosaur, KnightDefender has a primal instinct to hunt and kill its prey, which at times has led to the armor looking more like a robotic and menacing version of KnightDefender. This was covered up with a story that under extreme circumstances, the armor can enter a kind of berserk mode to release excess energy built up, and it goes into a kind of auto-defensive mode. In this mode, it cannot tell friend from foe. During this time, KnightDefender is unable to do anything, as they are unconscious, and it's a defense feature designed to keep the wearer safe in this circumstance. In reality, however, it is the nanotech in the armor reacting to the strong bloodlust from the primal instincts of KnightDefender and losing control, often reacting on instinct and reflex rather than rational thought. Despite this, the headmaster of Mahora Academy has seen the potential for good within KnightDefender and has taken steps to ensure the student's safety in the event of a full-on berserk mode rampage, setting up a few magical seals to limit the energy manipulation the armor can perform. Of course, this doesn't help protect the students against the razor-sharp teeth and claws of KnightDefender while in this state, but in a bizarre way, the headmaster sees this as a chance for the students to gain some real-life combat experience, to sharpen their senses and prepare them for the dangers they may face at any time once they leave the academy. It's a bit more hands-on than a regular approach, but with the threat of evil and danger at any turn on their journey, it is a lesson that all students at Mahora Academy will need to learn. Well, this was definitely a fun episode, and I have to say I had a super hard time choosing from the designs submitted. The lore and concepts were all amazing. As always, a special shout out to our winning submissions in the community redraw: Sharzin, Galahal19, Spencer Deckard, Zenith Prophet of Beans, and Space Raptors Infinite. Also, a thank you to everyone who submitted. Your designs were amazing. Admittedly, I was going to do something different in today's video. However, while planning it out, I had the idea to do a Heroic Academy, and who knows, maybe this will develop into something more on the channel. Now the part most of you have been waiting for, details of the October community redraw. This time, I'd like you to create your own original supervillain. That's right, I did say super villain. It's the reverse of this month's theme, but there's also a reason for this that will be revealed in the redraw at the end of next month. As always, send in one headshot and one full body image, the name of the character, any powers or abilities, and if you want to, some information about the origin of the supervillain. Submission deadline is October the 20th. You can submit via the Discord or to redraws at dempseyj-illustrations.co.uk. Details for both are in the description of this video. I look forward to seeing all your submissions. Next Friday is going to be another Fusion video. Anyway, stay safe everybody. Catch you next time.